Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Lefebvre and I have a new obsession, and that is adding colored pencils to my watercolor paintings. So today I'm going to show you exactly how I do it and what I use them for. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so today I'm going to show you how I have been incorporating colored pencils, or I call them pencil crayons, into my watercolor work. So I have been painting a lot in this mixed media sketchbook from Strathmore. It's the Strathmore 500 series, and I've just been having so much fun painting in this, but I've also loved it because it takes pencil crayons really well to layer on top of gouache or watercolor. It's a really nice smooth mixed media paper, and I've just been really enjoying adding, like I said, my pencil crayons to my work. So I did this floral spread recently, and today I wanted to do a new floral spread, different than that one, to show you how I go about using the I don't know whether to call them pencil crayons or colored pencils because everyone calls them something different, but essentially what they are are colored pencils. The ones I just recently bought myself are the Caran d'Ache Luminance ones, which are some of the most expensive colored pencils on the market. You do not need these by any means. Please don't feel like you have to get the most expensive to get these results at all. You can use Crayola, you can use your kids' pencil crayons, anything you have will work. I just recently treated myself to these ones. The ones I was using before were the Prismacolor Premier, which were really nice as well. Both of them are great. I just, I've been really enjoying them, so I decided to treat myself to these. But use whatever ones you like. And the reason why I've been enjoying using them and adding them on top of my watercolor or gouache work is because the beautiful textures you can get, but also you can create so much depth and dimension in your work just by adding colored pencils. And today I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to paint something quickly first. It's not going to be a tutorial on how I paint the actual flowers. The tutorial is going to be on how I add the colored pencils to kind of enhance that first layer of watercolor. So we're going to do a little time lapse. What I am going to be painting is from a challenge by my good friend Jillian Boone. She recently just did this garden prompt challenge on Instagram. This is her Instagram, and it's 7-day garden challenge, and each day of the 7 days you paint a new flower. So daisy, tulip, iris, pansy, peony, poppy, and then a flower of your choice. And I'm going to try and incorporate it all onto one page, and this is a challenge meant to do over 7 days, but things have been really busy. I don't know if I'm going to get around to do it one a day, so I decided to paint them all today and then show you how I would use the colored pencils on top. So if you would like to, make sure you're following Jillian. She also has a beautiful YouTube channel where she paints gorgeous flowers. She's incredible at what she does. So make sure you go and follow her and give her some love. All right, let's jump in and start painting. Okay, so now that all the watercolor is done, we're gonna add our colored pencils. So the one thing I really love about using these is that you can layer light colors over dark colors, which you can't do with watercolors. So it's really nice that you feel if you make a mistake, you can really kind of manipulate it to look the way you want to. And when I'm choosing colors, I try and just choose something that's similar, and I don't try to be too precise with it all, to be honest. I just try and have as much fun with it as I can. But this is how I like to add in the shadows. So the closest to the center is gonna have, you know, the darkest shadows. So I'm gonna add in some dark red here. Blend it out a little bit. So if you just change up the pressure of your pencil, you can get really, really light kind of blends. You make it a little bit harder with your pressure. It's a little bit darker, and just have fun with it. So I'm not trying to really put too much pressure on myself to make this look realistic or anything like that, but I just try and have fun with the texture and layering, like so. I'm just adding in some of these darker shadows. You can even brighten it up with some other colors. And I don't color over the whole flower. I just try and add our highlights and shadows as much as I can, because I do want to maintain that watercolor texture underneath too. Like those blooms like these that we get with the use of lots of water on this specific paper really create some fun blooms that I don't necessarily want to hide or get rid of. It's part of the texture, which I really, really love. But this is just an extra way to enhance some of those shadows and the layers in an easier way. So if you find you have a little bit of trouble with brush control and shading and doing like little details, using a colored pencil might be perfect for you, because it is easier to control because it's a harder tip. So if that is one of your concerns with painting, just getting those fine little details, this might be perfect for you. I'm just using like a variety of reds. Like so. I want to get some of this deepness in our center for our poppy here. The one thing that can be a little bit annoying is you do have to sharpen your pencils quite a bit to get the best tips, especially for those little detailed areas. So far, this sharpener that I have is the best one that I have that does not break my pencils. And I just obviously have like a little container that I've been kind of throwing them into. But to get those detailed little lines, you do have to sharpen a little bit more. But if you are on the go and maybe you want to do some art while you travel, instead of bringing your whole like watercolor kit, this is a really great option for being something that's very portable. Or you could always, you know, do your watercolor parts at home and then do any kind of extra sketching and all that stuff later on. But see, it just kind of makes it pop. I love it. And I'll show you, I like using my lighter colors for highlights. So this is such a nice benefit to using pencil crayons, is being able to layer those light colors on top, which I absolutely love. And it just makes it stand out more and gives it that nice fun detail. So I'm gonna finish this poppy and this little one, and then I will move on to the daisies and show you how I do those. All right, so for our daisy, which is a very light flower, it's a white flower, but obviously I don't want to just make it the same shade as the paper. So I did this little kind of a light peachy gray. So I'm gonna just grab some light kind of taupe colors, maybe little hints of peach, and then some darker grays. It depends on which way you want to go with this. I do have the 100 pack of the Caran d'Ache pencil pencil crayons is what I call them. So I do have a lot of colors. You obviously don't need all of these colors, but I do love having a bunch of these neutrals, which is really nice. So with the daisy, what I'm trying to do is just separate the pencil or the petals a little bit. Now you don't want to draw around each individual pencil. Oh my gosh, each individual petal. I'm looking at my pencils. But you do want to just have a little bit of separation between some of these petals. So I'm shading a little bit extra on some of them that might be a little bit overlapped of each other. You can do some little lines. But you don't want to do too much to start. Okay. And you can really just kind of experiment with color. What I do like doing is getting a darker color, maybe a darker like bluish gray, and making it a slight bit darker, especially towards the base where they're all touching the center. You can even just have like a hint of blue to them. You can really go whatever way you want with this. And remember, like I said, it doesn't have to be realistic by any means. Just have fun and experiment. Okay, I'm gonna grab like a darker yellow for our center here. And I'm just gonna do some tiny little circles for the center. Like that, and then I'm gonna get a brown, kind of like a warm brown. Do an extra little bit of shading around the bottom of it, of that center. And then I like to go back in with a deeper color to get those little areas that would not be touching light. And then you can even use some of that for some of the petals. And it just really makes it stand out. Like that. And then I'll do this other one really quickly. Like that. So there are our little daisies. Now for the tulip, again, I just like to use this so I can like separate the petals. So I'm going to grab a similar color and do a little line down the center. And usually with the tulips, one petal is overlapping the other. So this one's going to be in front. And then I'm just going to shade slightly on this side to make it look like it's behind this petal. Now, while this does cause some separation, it doesn't give as much depth as I would like. So I would definitely go, I'm going to do a couple like little lines here. I would definitely go a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab maybe even more of like a muted pink. And the colors don't have to be exact. It's actually a lot of fun to kind of just play around with different colors to give it a different look. In the center here, I kind of make it a little bit darker. And then just to make it even deeper, I might even grab that dark brown just to get some of those like little areas where there would be lots of shadow towards the base, just to make it pop out even more. But there's really no wrong way to do this, so don't feel like however you want to use your colored pencils has to be the exact same way that I do it. I want you to experiment and try and see what you like and just play around. It's all about just adding texture and layers and having fun. So I'm just gonna finish up with these tulips. I'm gonna do all the flower heads first, and then I'm gonna come back and show you how I would do a lot of the greenery on here as well. All right, so let's move on to the pansy. The pansy looks like quite a mess. which, I mean, if you look at the the actual flower here, it looks like, what is this flower? But this is what I love about playing with the pencils, is that you can really define the shapes with the pencils afterwards. So your watercolor part doesn't even have to be great. Okay, here I'm kind of carving out that shape for the bottom petals. Same with this one. Like that. And then, like I said before, the layering that you can do with the lighter colors on top is such a game changer. So then I would just kind of go beside some of those colors to make them pop out. And again, it's not supposed to be realistic. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just helps you to kind of get that look of a bit more structure. And texture through this. And just deepen it even further with a darker color. And it already looks way more defined, okay? So I'm just gonna finish up these ones. I also don't wanna cover up too much of these blooms, because I do like the texture that those natural blooms kind of gave. So I just wanna use some of that as the texture in the flowers. Okay, so there's our pansies. Our iris, again, I love these bleeds. I did do a tutorial recently on the iris, which was a lot of fun with colored pencils. So I'm just gonna kind of create some folds with this. I don't need to do too much coloring or anything, but just creating a little bit of the folds in it. Again, keeping a lot of those blooms, which I really, really love. And just having fun. I am going to grab some orange and do that color there. And then those darker lines. And then just little folds and a bit of shading. But again, not too much detail. Okay, now, okay, now moving over to the peonies. I've already done tulips over here. I'll do that on my own time. But the peony is a little bit trickier just because there's so many petals. So what I like to try and do with the peony is I'm just going to carve out some of the layers. So I'm just kind of separating some of the pencils, or oh my gosh, some of the petals, focusing on which petals would be in front of the others, and then just shading slightly behind it. So I'm just carving out a petal shape there and then shading behind. You can even create some little lines there. And you don't even have to have painted specific petals. You can just kind of make it up and just draw it if you like. And then I would just shade at the bottom of the petal and a little bit at the top. Again, don't worry about it being realistic. Like you don't have to see every petal and how it moves. You just want to get a general idea just by kind of separating them. But again, don't worry about it being too precise or perfect because it really doesn't have to be. Focus on that texture and the color, and just kind of vague petal shapes. I might even grab the peach. My peach color. You can add other colors on top, maybe even like hints of yellow if you'd like. Just add some fun colors. You can add a little bit more depth to the base here by adding darker colors. Like so, and it just really makes it all pop. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up actually before I do, I'm gonna do this one here. I did for my final flower. We did we did daisies. That's my youngest son's birth month flower, so I decided for the flower of your choice to do some lily of the valley for my older son. So I just want to carve out this kind of like bell shape. And again, just using the light colors for this white flower. And again, having, it be able to layer light colors on top is really nice for highlights. Like that. And then I'm just going to finish up the rest of the flowers, and then I will move on to the greenery to show you how to finish it off. Okay, so now that most of the flowers are done, we're going to go back in with our greens, and we're going to fix a lot of the greenery in here. So I like to get some really dark greens, even some blue greens, and then even these like really bright kind of like yellowy greens for some highlights. So I might add like a yellow closer to the tips. Like look how that layers over top. You get these beautiful bright kind of colors. And so I'm just trying to make my tulip petals the same. And then This is also a really great opportunity to make, like if you have two stems that are kind of close together, to divide them. So you can go up one stem and then shade the one that's behind so the other one pops out. And again, even use, a light shade of your green to go over and make your stems stand out even more as well. So then I would probably take a darker green. And just what you have to remember is that any part of your greenery that's behind another object, whether it's a flower or behind another petal or leaf, there's going to be shading. So how this this leaf here is behind this pansy, I'm just going to darken it behind here. I also have the stem from this one here, so I'm going to go over that with a light one and then darken behind it so that stem really pops out. And it's just a great way to separate a lot of those shapes and have things pop out. So I'm going to shade down here. And it's great for line work and more texture. Like so. And then if there's any areas where you feel like it looks kind of like a mistake, like I don't really like these blooms as much, a great thing is you can just kind of draw right over them if you don't like it. So this is a really great way to mask mistakes that you don't like. And then I would just slowly start to lighten my pressure so it blends a little bit better. There, maybe take a lighter green. And just blend it a bit. You can even take that bright color and just have fun. So that's kind of how I do the greenery here. Again, just continuing to deepen it. And it really helps to make those shapes stand out. If you want to add some veins and stuff like that, like I kind of like this, you can just use it to add your veins. Sometimes I'll just use it as the outline, even without the shading. Like that. I do like to go over the stems just to outline them a bit, at least on one side, to give it a little bit of shadow. Now here I have these two stems intersecting. So this one I want behind, so I would just kind of cut off there and then shade right behind it. So it looks like the stem is overlapping. And I might even take my darker green, just add a little bit more darkness right there, just to increase the shadow a little bit of where it would be overlapping. Like that. This area is kind of a mess here, and I feel like I kind of messed up. So again, using the pencils is such a great way to fix any of those mistakes. So I'm going to outline each of the leaves here. So I want there to be a leaf here. I wanted there to be a folding one here. So I can really just outline it like that, and then shade around it to get the shape that I was looking for with the darker color. And then it kind of just fixes it. So I'm starting light, and you can always layer your colors. But it's such a great way to fix any mistakes you might have made. And then also I'm going to grab that light green or like yellow color to make the stem here stand out. Like so. And then this petal behind is from the tulip, so I'm going to make sure it's a different green. And it's lighter than this one right beside it, just because they're so close. And then here, I'm just blending it in with this part down here, which was a mistake. I'm just making it part of the tulip leaf. Like that. And then it kind of just helps to separate it all. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, perfectly drawn or clean and neat, but I don't mind that. And I just try and have as much fun with all of this as I can. And the whole point is to just, you know, experiment, see what works, see what you like, and don't worry too much about perfection, because obviously none of us are perfect with this, and we're all just learning, and just the only way you're going to get better and figure out what you like and what works and what doesn't is by trying. So give it a go. Add your colored pencils or your pencil crayons to your work. Let me know how it goes in the comments below, and I hope this was insightful and you guys enjoyed it. So there you go. There is our floral spread using watercolor and colored pencils. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I come up with a new video, and don't forget to follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.